The 7 charred seeds. 7 charred seeds were all it took to bury an entire empire. They lay in a calabash bowl carved from ancient Iroko wood, blackened as though kissed by fire and grief. Around them, the elders of Igbonku whispered incantations into the heavy evening air. The royal tomb yawned open before them, its red earth damp from a week of restless rain. As we plant these blackened embers within the royal tomb, the high priest intoned, his white beard trembling like the last breath of a dying man, you will witness the exact moment a brother's greed turns a golden dynasty into a sinking grave. The people of Nsukka had gathered in silence. No drum dared to speak. No flute dared to cry. How far would you fall, the priest continued, to claim a throne that is already drowning? And with that, the first seed was buried. Long before the seeds turned black, the kingdom of Akwa shimmered like polished brass beneath the sun. Its markets overflowed with palm oil, woven fabrics, and coral beads. Its warriors wore bronze helmets shaped like leopards. Its throne, carved from a single baobab trunk, rested high upon a dais overlooking the river Oji. King Ekweme ruled with measured wisdom. His reign was steady like the river in the dry season, deep, reflective, dangerous only when disturbed. He had 2 sons. The first was Prince Obiora, born beneath a blood moon. Calm, thoughtful, deliberate. He listened before he spoke. The elders said his eyes held storms he never allowed to break. The second was Prince Namdi, born at dawn during the planting season. Charming, quick-tongued, adored by the people. His laughter could soothe a quarrel. His anger could ignite one. They were inseparable as children. They wrestled in the palace courtyard. They raced barefoot through cassava fields. They learned sword play under the same tutor and memorized ancestral oaths beneath the same oil lamp. But as they grew, so did the difference between them. Obiora valued silence. Namdi valued applause. And the throne watched them both. When King Ekweme's cough began to stain his white cloth red, the kingdom trembled. Messengers were sent to the oracle of Arochukwu, whose shrine had guided kings for centuries. The brothers journeyed together, though tension hummed between them like a drawn bowstring. The oracle was an old woman with skin like dried parchment and eyes like molten iron. She did not greet them. She simply said, 7 seeds will decide the fate of your father's throne. Namdi laughed lightly. Then we shall plant them wisely. Obiora did not smile. The oracle's gaze pierced them both. One of you will wear the crown, the other will bury it. The brothers returned home in silence. From that day forward, Namdi's charm sharpened into ambition, and Obiora's silence deepened into suspicion. King Ekweme died during the Harmattan winds. The air was thick with dust when Obiora was crowned. The elders chose him for his steadiness, for his restraint, for his resemblance to the late king. Namdi knelt before his brother, smiling for the crowd. But that night, alone in his chamber, he stared into a polished bronze mirror and whispered, I would have ruled better. He began to gather allies quietly. Merchants who felt overtaxed, warriors who desired expansion, young nobles eager for change. He promised prosperity, expansion, glory beyond the river. Obiora, meanwhile, struggled under the weight of expectation. Drought crept across the farmland. The river Oji receded unnaturally early. Whispers began in the marketplace. The new king lacks fire. The throne grows cold. Namdi listened, and he planted the second seed. One brother was descending into madness. while the other clung to a crown made of hollow promises and rising silt. The rains returned, but they did not nourish. They flooded. The earth around the palace began to soften. Walls cracked, foundations shifted, crops rotted in waterlogged soil. The high priest declared it spiritual imbalance. Namdi declared it poor leadership. Secret meetings multiplied. Rumors spread that Obiora had angered the ancestors, that he refused necessary sacrifices, that he feared decisive action. Obiora confronted his brother one humid evening. "You undermine me." "I strengthen the kingdom," replied Namdi smoothly. "You gather men. I gather hope." But Obiora saw it now. The hunger in Namdi's eyes, a hunger no feast could satisfy. The third seed was planted beneath the royal courtyard. What happens when the earth itself decides to swallow a kingdom whole? It begins quietly, a crack in the throne room floor, a well that turns murky overnight, a tremor beneath dancing feet. Then, suddenly, the ground convulses. During the festival of New Yam, as dancers spun in brilliant attire and drums thundered against the sky, the palace courtyard split open with a roar like a wounded beast. Screams replaced celebration. Walls leaned, columns fractured, the throne itself tilted, its carved baobab base sinking inch by inch into the earth, as if dragged by invisible hands. Obiora ordered evacuation. Namdi saw opportunity. The gods reject him. The land cries for new blood. The fourth seed had been watered. That night, beneath torchlights and panic, Namdi moved. He confronted Obiora in the fractured throne room. "The kingdom needs strength. It needs loyalty," Obiora cried. "It needs me." "You would destroy everything to claim this seat," Namdi said. Namdi's voice trembled not with doubt, but with fury. "You sit on a drowning throne, and you push it deeper," Obiora replied. Guards loyal to Namdi stormed the chamber. Obiora was seized. The fifth seed cracked open in the darkness. Namdi crowned himself at dawn, while the palace continued to sink. But the earth did not steady. It worsened. Homes near the river collapsed into the water. Sacred trees toppled. The royal tomb cracked open to expose the bones of ancestors to rain and mud. The high priest confronted Namdi publicly. "You planted what should never have been sown." Namdi laughed, but the sound fractured halfway through. His eyes darted toward the ground, as if expecting it to swallow him next. He began seeing shadows at the edge of torchlight, hearing whispers beneath the soil. "7 seeds," they murmured. The 7th seed smoldered beneath the tomb. Obioran escaped captivity with the help of loyal guards and returned not to reclaim power, but to save his people. He organized evacuation toward higher ground beyond the hills. Namdi remained in the palace, pacing the sinking throne room like a trapped leopard. When Obiora entered one final time, mud already coated the throne's base. "Come with us," Obiora urged. Namdi shook his head violently. "This is mine." "It is already gone." The floor split again. The throne lurched downward. For a moment, the brothers locked eyes, not as rivals, but as children racing through cassava fields. "You buried us," Obiora whispered. "No," Namdi breathed, sinking with the throne. "You did, when you chose caution over greatness." The final seed was swallowed by earth. The throne vanished, and so did Namdi. Years later, the ruins of Akwor lie half-submerged near the river Oji. Children are warned never to build too close to shifting soil. Elders speak softly of the dynasty that glittered before it drowned. Obiora never reclaimed a crown. He led his people to new land and ruled without a throne, seated instead on woven mats among his council. He refused monuments. He refused statues, because he understood something carved deeper than baobab wood. some legacies are better left buried forever. And beneath the old royal tomb of Akor, 7 charred seeds rest in silence, reminding the earth that betrayal, once planted, always grows. If you enjoyed this story, please like, tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and subscribe for more amazing African folktales.